Hello again. I'm here to resume my discussion of my fiction workshop that I took last semester. Last time I talked about setting. Today I want to talk about character. Now, if I had to pick one area where I feel that my philosophy on writing improved the most drastically over the course of this workshop, it would probably be character. Zach, you and I were just in the middle of a discussion when I left for school that semester. It was a discussion that I was hoping would get picked up in this workshop, and it certainly did, and it really answered some questions that I had. And the topic is this: do you really need to describe your characters? Physically, I mean. Now, when I was in middle school, late elementary school, whenever I wrote, I went through the basic step-by-step process. Every time a character appeared, a brand new character, I would always say they were about this tall and they had this color eyes and they had this color hair. This was their name and this is what they liked. And after a while I realized that that was just a little bit too blunt. It's not very subtle at all. So as I matured as a writer, I totally got rid of that. But then I went too far in the wrong direction, and up until the beginning of last semester, I was still someone who had this belief that you didn't really need to describe characters physically. It's related to the idea of setting that I talked about last time, where I wanted to really let the readers sort of envision their own idea of what they were reading. Because of that, even though I had my own distinctions of what these characters looked like in my head, I still was hesitant to put too much character description. For me, it didn't seem relevant. I bound myself to this rule of only introducing character details when there is contextual appropriateness. In other words, I never really wanted to describe my characters unless something in the story demanded that however they looked play a part in what was going on. But I want to go back to that idea that I learned by the end of the semester, this idea of absolutely forcing the reader to adopt your vision of your story and not giving them the chance to come up with their own vision. If you impose your own pictures upon them, they'll embrace the story more because it'll feel more definite. It won't feel as loose and abstract. One of the most important things I learned, and what's probably the most important part of this video, is that if a detail helps the reader create an image in their head of what's going on, if a detail does anything in the way of solidifying the vision of the writing, then it's not irrelevant. Now, of course, there are still subtle ways of going about revealing detail and some not so subtle ways. For instance, back when I was in middle school, just flat out describing point by point, bullet point, what the character looked like. So now what I've ultimately done is sort of taken the best of both theories. I've taken this idea of only really revealing detail when it's contextually appropriate, and taking the idea that really detail is always contextually appropriate if it helps solidify the vision and putting them together. So I may not just be flat out describing characters without any context anymore, but I still am definitely trying to make an effort to actually nail down a very specific character look and find ways in the story to reveal that. There are many different ways you can reveal a character, not just their physical description, but also just how they act, how they feel. You can find all sorts of opportunities to reveal these details, for instance, in how they speak to other characters, how they react to what other characters say, what happens with their body, what they do with their body when they're in certain situations and responding to certain events. Now, one thing that we were guarded against was using eyes as a descriptor. Describing a character's eyes is probably the number one most used method of conveying physically a character's reaction to something. So if you can avoid using their eyes and eyebrows to describe their reaction, that would be pretty good. If you do anything other than that, it's going to be a little bit more fresh. One problem that I fell into when my professor was reviewing one of my stories, he noticed and wrote down on my draft, this character seems to smile a lot. And that's true. I use the mouth a lot too, sometimes too much. There's way too much, this person smiled, this person frowned in my writing. So a challenge for me when using the physical description as a means of conveying reaction, and using reaction as a means of revealing physical description, my challenge is to try to iron out the use of the mouth, because I do that too much. So this is what it comes down to for me. Trying to find contextual spaces in the action and character interactions to make physical description relevant. Okay, I know this is starting to run a little long, but there's still a couple things that I want to say. However, this connects not only to character, but to detail in general. So I'm going to start a new video, but keep watching though, because what I'm about to say definitely applies to character and definitely ties into what I've been saying about finding contextual relevance for character detail. But until then, I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.